Right, hi everyone. Yes, tonight we're going to talk about Dean Moorehouse, obviously. I found an FBI file marked Dean Moorehouse that triggered me to do this stream, but when I read the FBI file, there's actually very little about Dean Moorehouse in it. It's all about Squeaky and the Gerald Ford assassination attempt, and there's a little tiny bit about him that I will get to reading out at the end. But I've put this stream together anyway from different sources and years of hearing about Dean Moorehouse. He was Ruth Ann's dad, obviously, and got close to Charles Manson and weirdly close to people like Terry Melcher, as we'll hear. And yeah, and also, yeah, I started a blog to go with the channel as well, which is linked everywhere. And I'll probably show you that a bit later as well. Yeah, I'll just say hello to everyone. And there'll be chapters in the description if you want to get to where the presentation starts. Just say hello to everyone. It is a live stream. Hi, everyone. I'll Dawn the moderator now as well in the chat. Look. Yeah, welcome everyone. And yeah, there's quite a lot to say about Moorehouse and a lot of different sources that confirm stuff that people might find hard to believe or people, question. So yeah, look at all that. Okay, let's see if you look in names. We've got 36 people here now. So I might as well start, I think. We'll break the discussion at some point. And yes, I've done a sort of timeline approach to this, and I'll keep skipping about to show stuff. So right, Dean Moorehouse, he's born February the 13th, 1920. Dean Allen Moorehouse is born in Minnesota. Age 19, he marries Audrey Lucille Surplus in 1939. Between 1940 and 1953, the couple had 4 children: Kathleen Adair in 1940, Dean Thomas, 1941, Sharon Lee in 1945, and Ruth Ann in 1953. In 1967, age 47, living in San Jose, California, Moorehouse, a Protestant minister, meets Charles Manson after picking him up hitchhiking. Manson becomes a frequent visitor, taking interest in Moorehouse's youngest daughter, Ruth Ann. July 28, 1967, Manson and Ruth Ann are apprehended by sheriff's deputies after Ruth is reported as a runaway. Ruth Ann is returned home. Manson is arrested for interfering with the police and contributing to delinquency of a minor. And we've got a newspaper article about this. Again, this is up in Mendocino as well. Yeah, no. Deputies end the ligaturist. Charles Willis Manson, 33, Santa Barbara, was booked at county jail Friday by authorities on a charge of delaying peace officers in carrying out their duties and for contributing to the delinquency of a 15-year-old girl. Sheriff's deputies report that they had received a teletype from the mother of the girl in San Jose, notifying them that her daughter was staying in Liggett with Manson, unchaperoned, by either parent, asking that the girl be returned to her. The report that when they went to investigate and pick up the girl, Manson told them that they would only do it by force. They called for several other deputies to stand by, but the girl was picked up and Manson arrested without further incident. So yeah. So he tried to stop the police from taking her back as well. And this is all while he's on parole as well, while Roger Smith was his parole officer. And he claimed not to know about that. When I read you the part of chaos I'm going to read, we'll get to that as well. But yeah, this is crazy. So yeah, and look at that early picture of Charlie as well. That's what he actually looked like when he was out and about. By the time he was in court, they apparently wouldn't let him cut his hair. He usually went around with short hair and was clean shaven. But yeah, look, that's actually about his arrest. Captive jailbait, yeah. And like I say, there's more to that as well. When he was visiting Dean Moorehouse, he liked a piano that Dean Moorehouse had, and Dean Moorehouse gave him the piano, and he swapped that for a bus, apparently, and stuff like that. That was missed out from the timeline then. It's crazy. In August 1967, Dean and Audrey Moorehouse filed for divorce in Sonoma County. In 1968, March 21st, Moorehouse is arrested in Redwood Valley, California, charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor during a marijuana raid. In May 1968, he's arrested again after individuals claim he sold them LSD, charged with violating the health and safety code. Right, now it gets crazier. May the 20th, 1968, Ruth Ann marries 23-year-old Edward L. Hoovelhorst in Santa Cruz, California, seeking emancipation. The marriage lasts one day, and she soon joins Manson and his followers in Los Angeles. So yeah, that's more information about the guy that she married anyway, that was mentioned in the police interview, because I'd never heard about this. Yeah, but this is May the 20th, 1968, she marries that guy. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Hooverhorst. And by then she's back with the Manson family, basically. So yeah. In the summer of 1968, Moorehouse learns of Ruth Ann's whereabouts and confronts Manson at Dennis Wilson's house. Manson diffuses the situation by kissing Dean's feet, and Moorehouse becomes a follower, handing over Ruth and staying at Wilson's guest house in exchange for landscaping duties. So he becomes Dennis Wilson's gardener, essentially. Right, so yeah, let's just unpack all that for a minute anyway, yeah, so. One of the Herefordshire Hooverhorse, yeah. Yeah, all sounds a little off, doesn't it? Everything. I don't even know what bit you're referring to, but yeah, everything generally sounds a bit off, yeah. Yeah, that's it. He did seem to want to go back to prison the way he broke laws. That's what I think as well, if you read the Spahn Ranch raid. Yeah. So he looks square with short hair. Yeah, that's why he's trying to look good in court, I suppose, isn't he? Yeah. The sound is a little opposite. I'll see if I can increase the volume of my mic or something. Right, hopefully that will help. The fan is pretty loud. Yeah, hopefully that will improve stuff. Charlie broke laws like he had impulse control disorder, yeah, or something like that, didn't he? Yeah. There's another thing called defiance disorder and that sort of thing. ADHD. He probably had ADHD as well. So Melcher lied on the stand. Police have Melcher by the balls, literally, because Melcher was banging Ruth Ann on the regular, yeah. Well, we get to his testimony from Texas trial that no one talks about, but yeah. Yeah, Moorehouse was a total convert to LSD, yeah. Yeah, so this is his trial. This is an article about his trial. It's crazy. Yeah, everyone's saying anyone would think he wanted to go back to jail. It does look that way, doesn't it? But they wouldn't send him back. Yeah. It's like he couldn't cope on the outside, so he just wanted to get sent back to jail. But they weren't having it. Carry on. There's more articles to read after this. Right. So in August 1968, Moorehouse and Charles Tex Watson embark on a road trip to Ukiah for Moorehouse's court appearance, driving Terry Melcher's 1968 XKE, which Melcher lent them along with his credit card to cover expenses. Court case ends in a hung jury, rescheduled until December. I've got a newspaper article about that. Right, hippie really hangs up Ukiah jury. Ukiah, Mendocino County. A bearded, balding, barefoot hippie prophet who showed up in Judge Wayne Burke's court wearing a white Nehru coat with long underwear for trousers really hung up the jury. Dean Allen Moorehouse, 48, whose flamboyant attire and calm demeanour surprised the staid court, will appear December 16th for another trial on the charge that he sold 21 LSD capsules to Roger Tholen, 27. Attorney Richard Peterson said the jury was released after deliberating 3.5 hours. Numerous high school students who stood resolutely by the prophet during the trial cheered the announcement of the hung jury. Right, and that photo isn't to go with this article. That's of him being admitted to prison, where he'd obviously shaved his beard off. But this article said he did grow a beard for that. And there's more about, because you heard it said he travelled with Tex Watson. There's more about this I want to read out to you. Tex Watson even smoked some weed in the living room of 10050 Cielo Drive with Terry Melcher and Dean Moorehouse, a former minister who had joined Charles Manson's group about a year later. Watson would commit the horrific about a year later, Watson would commit the horrific act of killing Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring in that very living room. This was Watson's first visit to 10050 Cielo Drive. As he later recalled, "It was the first time I'd been to the house, but it wouldn't be the last." That same day, Moorehouse brought Watson to Spahn Ranch for the first time. The two locations would become forever linked in infamy. Tex Watson was introduced to Dean Moorehouse at Dennis Wilson's place, and both lived there for a time. Despite their age difference, the 23-year-old Watson and the 48-year-old Moorehouse quickly became friends. Dean Moorehouse, also known as Baba, had met Manson in 1967, when Manson was in the early stages of forming what would become known as the Manson Family. Both Moorehouse and his teenage daughter joined Manson's group. Moorehouse was the one who introduced Watson to LSD. By the time he testified at Watson's murder trial in 1971, Moorehouse stated that he had personally taken approximately 150 to 200 LSD trips, an average of about one trip per week. Dean Moorehouse took me on my first acid trip. Now, it wasn't just the external world I saw differently. It seemed the LSD opened me up to what was inside me as well. Watson, in his book Will You Die For Me, 1978. Due to his relationship with Moorehouse, Watson eventually ended up living at Spahn Ranch, the Manson family's headquarters during the Tate LaBianca murders. While at the ranch, Watson committed 8 murders, 9 including Sharon Tate's unborn baby. Terry Melcher's Jaguar. In the summer of 1968, Tex Watson and Dean Moorehouse embarked on a road trip. Moorehouse had to appear in court on charges of selling LSD, and Watson accompanied him for several weeks. They drove north in Terry Melcher's brand new 1968 Jaguar XKE, which he had loaned them along with his credit card, offering to cover gasoline and other expenses. In his trial testimony, Watson recalled, "Dean had already picked up the car, and he had asked me to come along with him on the trip when we moved out of Dennis's house and went by Terry Melcher's house to pick up his credit card. I remember we sat around in the front room, Dean, Terry and I, and we smoked some marijuana together. On their way back to the trial, they drove past Atascadero, where Watson received a speeding ticket. 2 years later, he would return to Atascadero, this time as an inmate in a mental hospital facing murder charges." I've done a stream about his time in there, isn't it? According to Watson, Moorehouse had extensive knowledge of the Bible and preached throughout the entire trip. Moorehouse's trial lasted 2 days, but the jury couldn't reach a verdict, leading to the scheduling of a second trial. They stayed in Mendocino for several weeks before returning to Los Angeles. So again, a lot to unpack there. That's crazy. So so Tex hung around with Terry Melcher basically, and Terry Melcher confirms this. I'll show you in a minute. It's actually in the trial transcript of Tex's trial, which I've read out in another stream, but I'll read out just this part of this stream because it refers to this episode. But that is crazy. So Terry Melcher basically gave Ruth Ann's dad his sports car and a credit card and said, "Go away," to be left alone with Ruth Ann's, basically, doesn't it? Is what it looks like. And he goes off to do this court case, and it ends in a hung jury, and he comes back. But it does, and Terry Melcher, in Chaos, he talks about how Bugliosi tries to say Tex stayed later, and he can't have because Dean was in jail at that time. But he could have in the summer or fall of 68. Yeah. Just crazy, isn't it? So I'll just get the chat. It's the first person to give Tex LSD as well, not Charlie, isn't it? Yeah. And yeah, this page that I'm reading from now, I'll make sure it's linked in the description, gives a very detailed account of everything in the Manson murders. There are some mistakes in it, so double check everything. But you can, confirm a lot in other sources as well. Yeah. Hello there, Derek. And Mark, sorry, I should greet people more, shouldn't I? Super Laura. Oh, hello. Are you new? I haven't seen you before. Hey. Thanks for coming, everyone. Anyway. And yeah, just for naysayers, I'm going to show this now. This is to this tab. This is the trial transcript from Tex's trial. So Terry Melcher basically confirming that Tex could have stayed. Yeah. Yes, sir. Directing your attention to Defendant Charles Watson, whom I'm pointing to right here. Have you seen him before? Yes, sir. When did you see Mr. Watson for the first time? Sometime in the summer of 1968. Where at? At Dennis Wilson's house. On Sunset Boulevard? Yes. Have you ever seen Mr. Watson inside your former residence at 10050 Sierra Drive? Yes. Approximately how many times? I can't be certain. Several. Watson was a friend of Wilson's and Jacobson's and was often tagging around with either or both of those men. So whenever they would drop by, not whenever, but often when they would drop by, he would be with them. Can you give us an approximate number of times that you saw Mr. Watson inside your former residence at 10050 Cielo Drive? I would say approximately 6. It's a very rough guess. Do you recall what part of your former residence Mr. Watson was in on any of those occasions? He could have been in one room or he could have been in all the rooms. I really don't know. I wasn't keeping track. During what period of time was Mr. Watson at your residence? You said 6 times, encompassing, let's say, what period? I guess it would all be, I'm sorry, let me retract that. All 6 times would have fallen somewhere in the summer of 1968. To your knowledge, did Mr. Watson ever stay overnight at your residence? No. Mr. Jacobson took care of my house for me about 4 months while I was in Europe doing some recording. When was that? That was I believe I left in the fall of 1968, and Watson may have stayed there then. You don't know. I'm not certain. It's possible. Did you have a Jaguar car around this period of time? Yes, I did. Did you ever loan Dean Moorehouse that car? I did. Do you know the approximate date? No, I don't, but I'm sure that in the summer of 68 again. In your records, yes. To your knowledge, did you loan the car to Mr. Moorehouse and Mr. Watson? I loaned it to Mr. Moorehouse. Was Mr. Watson present when you did this? I believe that Mr. Watson went along with Mr. Moorehouse on the trip, yeah. During the summer of 1968, did Mr. Watson look the way he does right now? Well, he wasn't wearing a tie. What about his hair? It was a little longer. What about his weight? Would you care to have him stand up? Well, he is thinner. He is thinner now. Yeah. The court. Did he have a beard? The witness. Not that I recall, sir. Mr. Bugliosi. These 6 times that you met Mr. Watson, did you notice anything at all unusual about him? Nothing at all, except he was very pleasant and friendly. Was that the last thing you said, sir? Is it right? And then, yeah, that's basically the end. So, yes, Melcher confirmed it in court. Tex could have stayed. He doesn't know if he stayed in the fall or not. And on that other page, that's all taken from, I think, Tex's book, where he says he smoked marijuana in the living room with Sarah Melcher. And he confirms there that it could be possible. Basically, doesn't he? Right, yeah, so basically it's in December 17th of 1968. Moorehouse's retrial begins, and he's found guilty. And then January the 2nd, 1969, he is sentenced to 6 months at the Vacaville Medical Facility, and he serves the time in multiple facilities, including Folsom and San Quentin. Right, and post-August 1969, after the Tate LaBianca murders are linked to the Manson family, LAPD detectives visit Moorehouse in prison, and he offers little information. May the 7th, 1969, March 3rd, 1970, August 26th, 1970, Moorehouse is denied parole on all those dates. March 20. Oh, sorry, I skipped the page. March 23rd, 1970. Oh, sorry. March 23rd, 1971. He finally gets granted parole. In 1975, April, May, an FBI report states that he was writing to Manson, but stopped believing in him because he wasn't one with peace. Right, and I might as well show you that now, actually. This is, yeah, the one part that is actually about Dean Moorehouse in the whole FBI report. Remove that, I think. There we go. One page. Right, and so much is redacted. So, advised that he does not know Charles Manson or met a person named Dean Moorehouse, Baba, who now lives at 740 Great, Escondido, California, while they were both in prison at Susanville, California in 1969. Moorehouse told about spiritual matters that talked about and supposedly practiced. After was released from prison, he corresponded with Manson. Moorehouse had met Manson in 1967 or 1968. He was apparently impressed with Manson's beliefs. One of Moorehouse's has a cross on her forehead and was apparently an associate of Manson. Has heard that is a federal fugitive. And because this is about Squeaky, I assume that's Ruth Ann talking about Lynette Framing there. Manson never wrote directly to, but wrote to Morehouse, and he sometimes read the letters. He further advised that Manson possibly wrote to at his, and it's all redacted. He last saw Morehouse in April and May of 1975. Morehouse had been telling that Manson's letters had changed, and he talked about the last war and other things that Morehouse and, I assume Ruth, did not believe in. Supposedly, Manson had also said that time was not right for vegetarians, stated that he believes and works for peace, and it was apparent that Manson was not interested in peace any longer. And so, therefore, in April or May of 1975, Morehouse and Ruth wrote Manson a letter, but that's redacted, but I assume Ruth, wrote Manson a letter telling Manson that they did not believe what he said. Morehouse had earlier told in April 1972 that had been talking about crazy violent things. I assume that's Lynette. Morehouse said that and were good and Sandra and Good, well, what? So they didn't redact Sandy's name there, were bent on heading some type of revolution. They were supposedly sending money to people in prison that they consider political prisoners. Morehouse told that read letters to him that were supposedly from Charles Manson, which talked about revolution. Morehouse further stated that would not let him read the letters, but either read them to him or told him about them. He stated that he met that's Lynette and Sandy, through Dean Moorehouse on different occasions. He went to see apartment houses in Los Angeles on Melrose and Argyle, and while he was living in Argyle, and was also staying there. Listen, I don't think there's anything else that's really relevant until I do a stream about the assassination of Gerald Ford. So yeah, that's basically all there is of that. And yeah, because Manson blog proposed saying that he never renounced Manson, but in this FBI report he kind of does. He says, yeah, he said he no longer believed in him. I thought that seems a bit rich, saying he thinks he's no longer aligned with peace now. So what were the Manson murders and all the Helter Skelter stuff about? Did he think he was peaceful then? It took him until 1970 odd to say, no, you're not aligned with peace anymore, so I don't support you. Yeah, strange. Yeah, she has. You see people talking about him. Oh, sorry. What I was going to say. Yeah, well, Ruth hasn't said anything, no, has she? And in the comment sections, I see people saying that, yeah, she's a totally reformed character and doesn't talk about anything, yeah. But I think, yeah, she stayed with her father. She didn't renounce her father, still stayed with him and supported him until the end. Not a documentary, so maybe. I don't think Drogan has. I've never seen Gypsy's book either, yeah. I've been interested in that. Squeaky's book's quite good. And I've got to read Diane Lake's book as well. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. He pretends he's not Grogan or whatever, doesn't he? Yeah. I know he still plays music, apparently. People have tried to approach him and talk to him. But as soon as he realises you want to talk about the Manson case, he clams up, sort of thing. Let's get back to that. Yeah, so that's in 1975. That episode occurs. This is around the time that the Gerald Ford assassination attempt happened. The FBI, they were questioning another guy, and they found out that about Dean Moorehouse, basically. Yeah. He was writing to Manson, but he stopped writing to him because he wasn't aligned with peace anymore. And then in May of 1991, he's convicted of lewd and sex on a child under 14, sentenced to 8 years in state prison. September the 2nd, 1995, he's paroled after serving 52 months. May the 29th, 1997, violates parole and is returned to prison. May the 22nd, 1998, he's re-released on parole. September the 9th, 1999, discharged from parole supervision. May 22nd, 2010, he passes away in Shasta Lake, California, and that's his sex offender profile thing there. Yes, and he's about 92 or something crazy like that, yeah, when he ends up finally getting convicted of being dodgy with kids. But yeah, the whole thing, like at his trial, there was a load of teenage kids around cheering, and all the time he's all the time he's arrested, it's giving drugs to kids. So yeah, a very strange sus bloke. He never really and like I say, this is part of what they were trying to cover up was Terry Melcher and Ruth Ann, and when they ran with the whole helter skelter motive and playing down everything else. They didn't want this coming out, basically. It's horrible. He looks like the bloke who runs your local corner shop. Yeah, got that kind of face, hasn't he? And there is another photo of him actually. I'll save it until I read the bit out of Chaos. So I'm not going to read everything out of Chaos because it just repeats a lot of the same information. But just this one, the crazy bit about the soil sampling in Mexico where Dean's name comes up. Tried approaching Grogan in one documentary and they caught up with him after a music set. And Grogan wasn't cooperative. Oh no, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Gypsy never did publish a book. Yeah, I thought I'd have heard of that and seen it if she had. Yeah. I hope she does one day. Maybe. In Squeaky's book, there's so much from Sandy. It might as well be Sandy's book as well. It's like Sandy and Squeaky's book. She writes letters that Lynette publishes as part of the book. So you hear everything from Sandy too, yeah. Yeah, people say they like Lake's book, yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Leslie will write a book from her own point of view. There's been books written about her, but will she write a book? Who knows? Dean, the acid machine. Got 50 people watching. Thanks for coming over. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, check out the blog. And I'll show you the blog actually briefly. There you go. Look, yeah, here's the. There's not much on it yet. I will add more. Just a few posts. And the links to all the social media are in the sidebar there, so you can find the subreddit and everything easily. Facebook group and all that. Just in the chat so people can, have a look at that. And I'll get on with reading the final stuff. And this is a picture of Dean Moorehouse taken by Tom O'Neill. I got it from his Facebook page. I think he also posted it on Instagram as well. And I'm going to be reading a little bit from Chaos here. Page 243. If you're reading the PDF version that's on archive.org. In interviews with me, Smith claimed not to have known about Manson's conviction in Ukiah, which is when he ran off with Ruth Moorehouse, even though it occurred under his watch. In fact, in the same 1967 letter that should have mentioned Manson's conviction, the letter that lauded his excellent progress, Smith requested permission for Manson to travel to Mexico, where he would have been totally unsupervised, for a gig with a hotel band. Smith failed to note the fact that Manson had been arrested in Mexico in 1959, resulting in his deportation to the United States and the revocation of his federal probation. Manson is not to leave the Northern District of California, the parole board responded, noting that Manson's history does not mention any employment as a musician. And this record was lengthy and serious. And yet 2 weeks later, Smith tried again. He really wanted to send Manson to Mexico. He told the parole board that Manson had been offered a second job there by a general distributor for the Permagard Corporation of Phoenix, Arizona, named Mr. Dean Moorehouse, who wanted Manson to survey the market for insecticides, soil additives, and mineral food supplements. Smith neglected to mention that Moorehouse was on probation. Regulations barred associations between parolees and probationers, and one of Manson's newest recruits, the father of the 15-year-old whose arrest Manson had tried to prevent 3 weeks earlier. The parole board rejected this second request too. Interestingly, at the same time Smith made these requests, he launched a criminological study of Mexican drug trafficking for the federal government. He attempted to send Manson to Mazatlan, which was the main port city of Sonora, the drug trafficking capital of Central America in the 1960s. Sorry if I'm butchering these place names. In hindsight, Smith told me, when I presented him with the documents, it was not a good decision. Then he reversed course a bit, saying that he probably made the request just to show Manson they would not let him go. But twice, I asked, at the expense of your own credibility. He erupted. If you want to be conspiratorial, he said, yes, I was doing research on a Mexican drug trafficking at the same time. I was trying to send him there. So yes, you could make it look like that. But that wasn't what it was. I wasn't a career parole officer. I only did it for a couple of years because I needed the money while I did my dissertation. My wife was a teacher, but we had no money. Was I a career committed parole officer? No. So yeah, he got kind of defensive when he pulled him up about that. So yes, that's the other crazy thing. If for some reason Dean Moorehouse's name came up there, that's the kind of thing criminals would do. They just make up fake names, get their mate to sign it, sort of thing. Because what the hell did Dean Moorehouse was a preacher? So what the hell did he have to do with that mineral company? And yeah, and the fact that Moorehouse himself was also a convict, and that was a violation of his parole. All these different things, yeah. Yeah, what was he trying to put? Yeah, Charlie in the Mexican drug cartel. Or at least get him to bring back information, yeah. Yeah, wow. But yeah, what the hell did Dean Moorehouse have to do with soil sampling in Mexico and that? Mm. Yeah, so yeah, I wonder if she has met with John Waters. Probably Leslie that he's talking about there, yeah. Yeah. Dean, the parole violating machine, yeah. Charlie as well. They all are. Yeah, that's all there is to sort of read out. But yeah, crazy situation. Basically, and this is obviously the father of Ruth Ann, and that's all the real pictures of him I could find. There is a fake picture of him as well that I'll have to find. Mm. They were trackers. Charlie was set loose to get information about the hippies and other counterculture subsets, and they were distributing LSD as well. I find that interesting. He's arrested for distributing LSD, and some of the girls, aren't they? The girls are arrested later for distributing LSD in Mendocino. So they're all out there distributing LSD. And Charlie really wanted to go to Mexico, and with his history with the Mann Act violations and that, yeah, I think he was more into human trafficking as well. So he was possibly taking girls to Mexico with those drugs, wasn't it? So, was Morehouse ever really a straight-laced Protestant preacher at one time, or was he always a bit odd? No, yes, he was apparently. Yeah, legitimately a preacher. Yeah, for that. Yeah. What would you say? If that's correct about Manson, it's pretty admirable. I wish he would have a lot of offers. What? Sorry, I didn't see what the other person said. I know, yeah, she hasn't accepted any interview offers or anything, has she? Yeah, but I imagine she's gone for anonymity, hasn't she? She doesn't want people knowing her location. So yeah, but she's rich, isn't she, as well? Apparently, she inherited loads of money from her parents, so she doesn't need the money either. Mm. Yeah, well, the guy, Owsley Stanley, was their lighting technician, and he's one of the guys that was involved with the people that made the California Sunshine. You know, they called themselves the Golden Brotherhood or whatever, the LSD people. It's all, I think if the Manson family were involved in the MK Ultra type stuff at all, it was this angle, the LSD distributing angle, that connected them to it. Rather than them being like someone's mind control slaves. Yeah, a big transformation in Dean Moorehouse. Apparently, this is just because he picks up Charles Manson hitchhiking, and wow, blows his mind. And Manson likes his daughter. Yeah, there's an acid fried garden though. There's a guy who talks about him in the comment sections of every article you see about him as well, who says that he knew him in the last 10 years of his life and he was a lovely man. And all that, yeah. And there's a obituary for him as well, where none of his minor sex offences are mentioned. But yeah, everyone just says what a lovely bloke he was. Yeah. And that's it. I don't know if it's as much as 15 million, but it was millions, I heard. Yeah, that Leslie got, because she's got a brother as well, and she, so it was separate between other siblings, but she got millions. He was Elsie was the kingpin for LSD, selling so many, so long, including nearly everyone in Monterey Pop. Yeah. And a guy called Michael Hollingshead, whose name doesn't get mentioned enough as well. He was the one who gave Timothy Leary LSD first. And Timothy Leary, of course, he was giving everyone LSD at Millbrook. And Timothy Leary gave Mama Cass the LSD that she took to Hawaii with the mums and papas before they broke big, and they were tripping on that LSD every day of that holiday. That's a crazy story as well. In the stream about Mama Cass's drug use that I did. She lost everything. She lost all her luggage on the way, but she had the LSD in her bra, so she turned up with just a bottle of LSD, apparently. And I think it's actually the day before the grand jury. Well, the grand Susan's grand jury testimony was had the day before Altamont. Yeah. So when they handed down the indictments, would have been a few days later, yeah, I suppose, wouldn't it? But yeah, Susan's grand jury testimony was the day before Altamont. I'm surprised Mae Brosman never picked up on that. Yeah. Yeah. What a self machine loader you gave your mum on first trip. Amazing. It's estimated Elsie produced 5 to 6 million tabs of acid between 65 and 68. I wouldn't be surprised, yeah. Yeah. Altamont, what a fuck up. Yeah, there's an understatement. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely terrible. I've done whole streams about Altamont, and another stream just about Meredith Hunter's death and how sus that all was, and yeah, terrible. Yeah. But when Susan Atkins testified was the day before, I know that much. Yeah. Yeah, Mick Jagger definitely made a lot of miscalculations, and it was all just to make the film look more dramatic. But he didn't realise the impact it was having. And the drugs sounded so bad. The unique combination of bad drugs and the geography of the site and the Hell's Angels that they used were inexperienced at doing security as well. So it all just added up to a nightmare. Yeah. Yeah. The LSD being manufactured by 1969 was that weird mind control government acid like LSD 9 or something. Yeah, Mae Brosnan talks about probably. And a lot of these people claim to have taken a lot of it as well. Though I found audio of Lynette Squeaky talking about it, and she didn't seem to have taken it so much. But Patricia Krenwinkel was supposed to have said she took 300 trips, and Dean Moorehouse said he took hundreds of trips. So they seem to take it with varying levels of heaviness. And the girls have said that Manson handed out LSD to them every night, though he stopped taking it after a while. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, yeah, not Hawaii. Danny talked about the first at beach. Yeah, I read it out, didn't I, in the thing? Yeah, and they overdosed on LSD basically, and ended up having to go into the sea. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And some of them were eating it every day. Most of them were, but by the sound of things, yeah, they were being given it every day. And Krenwinkel was saying, I can't find her actual testimony, but I managed to find some newspaper articles where people reported it. And she was saying she was just going to the stash several times a day and getting it. Like, you didn't have to, ask him for it. You just knew where the stash was, and people went and were allowed to take it. Yeah, crazy. Oh, do you like soft machine? Yeah, I like soft machine. Still, Dave Goodman. Gave you your first trip. That's the soft machines radio. Yeah. Wow. So that was kind of when I see the family too. That night, people went crazy until the back lunch apart. No, I smashed the window. Really, so I'm not sure. I know it says in the Texas psychiatry report he smiled when they talked about sunshine LSD. So he took orange sunshine. I don't know if that was at the ranch though, because he spent a lot of time elsewhere, didn't he, as well? But he seems to have taken orange sunshine, which is a famous one, isn't it? Manson lost control and left the house for a time. Yeah, well, he stopped taking LSD after a while, didn't he? I think he freaked himself out. And he's supposed to have had a trip with Belladonna, isn't he? That was actually like Jimson Weed or Datura, wasn't it? And gone up to a graveyard and had a conversation with two demons and shit like that, isn't he? Yeah. I think he fried his brains a bit. He got the psychedelic burnout. We talked about the incident. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. Yeah, someone breaks a window on acid. So text talks about punching a door panel through on what I think Datura seeds that he gets given early on when he first gets to California when he's living with David still. Hmm. Yeah, that's it. Texas drug use was crazy. I've done whole streams about Texas drug use. Mad. Yeah, Orange Sunshine was cut with speed, Valium, Valium. How can you cut acid with speed and Valium? Yeah. Right, squeaking joke for what you heard the other day that those two had a torrid secret affair and at the beginning it didn't happen because he wouldn't leave Betty for her. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Texas drug use resulted in taking Joe's day children and talking to aliens. Crawling down the road, thinking he was in a car. He remembers being in a car and the police pulling him out of a car, but he was actually crawling down the middle of the road, saying beep beep. Yeah. Oh god, you had a bad trip on Orange Sunshine, did you? In the 70s. Wow. Yeah, well, this is what, sorry, the text lost his mind after the Belladonna trip and arrest, yeah, and this is what they're all saying, and this is what the psychiatrist seemed to conclude as well. In his psychiatry report. Yeah. Yeah, what you think the stuff that you took was cut as well, yeah. Because it all depends on what batch you get as well, doesn't it? Who's made it? They can call it anything and put any picture on the tab, can't they? So, yeah, nothing is guaranteed, is it? Hmm. Yeah, so I heard a rumour McCartney sent the film crew out to film Woodstock, knowing it would be a no, and the lenses were filled with Owsley's finest and returned to London. Oh, what? Yeah, well, there's a book I found about the Apple building, the Apple office, on archive.org, and that's got some crazy stuff in it. I've got to read through all that because there's like quite controversial stuff. To books that I've not heard of before as well that must have been repressed. But someone that works at the Apple office, because it only existed for a few years, that Apple company that the Beatles had. But yeah, they did do a lot of acid. The Beatles apparently. And I got the audio of John Lennon talking about acid. There's a longer bit than they normally play as well. He says more. He says George. He thinks George is the only one that's as cracked as him that took as much acid as him, basically. Yeah. Hmm. Who gave him the belladonna? It was Paul Watkins that told them to take belladonna. It wasn't Johnny West. No. Hmm. Yeah, and it wasn't belladonna anyway. Yeah, it was Jimson weed, which is they call datura, so stronger than belladonna. Yeah. Yeah, The Longest Cocktail Party is the book. Yeah, that's the one that I found. It's called The Longest Cocktail Party, and there's crazy information in it. Like, a young naked underage girl walking around talking to people, tripping and stuff like that. And this is in the Beatles' office because they have they've kept their image really clean, you know, and hidden all this sort of stuff. But yeah, it sounds like dodgy stuff went on there. Yeah. That's it, yeah. Valium is the antidote to LSD. That's what they gave Barbara Hoyt when they interviewed Barbara Hoyt about what happened when she took the hamburger with 10 hits of acid in it. She went to the emergency room and they gave her Valium. Yeah. They grew the Jimson. Well, apparently it just grows naturally in the area. It is just a wild plant. I've seen it growing where I live. It's just a widely spread weed, yeah, that grows. It's got like white flowers. Mm. Perhaps we were talking about Jimson weed. I found, yeah, Tales from the Trip found a video of people on it as well. I'll have to show that one night. See them smoking phantom cigarettes and that, yeah, because it's a delirium. It's not like psychedelics, and it makes you feel like you're in a completely different place and all that sort of thing. Yeah, so it sounds horrible. Yeah, yeah. Jimson weed is stronger than belladonna. It's the same plant family, so it's there's a similar effect, but Jimson weed is much stronger, and yeah, can really mess you up. Can give you it's called HPPD. It's like PTSD from a bad trip, basically. You know, it's like recurring flashbacks to it. A lot of people get recurring problems because of it. And they reckon that is what messed techs up, basically. Yeah, have you seen it? Yeah, I think I shared it on the subreddit, and I would have shared it in the Facebook group as well when I found it. Yeah, that's it. A couple of guys passing a non-existent cigarette, mumbling words no one can understand. Yeah, and it sounds like that's what techs was doing in the cell that they put him in, and the guys beat him up because he was acting weird. Yeah, yeah. The morning glory seeds to trip. Yeah, Tex smoked something he called rosewood seeds and ended up punching a door through when he was still living with David near what do you call it, Lookout Mountain. Hmm. Right, well, it's getting quite near the end now. It's going for nearly an hour. So yeah, I might end this in a minute and go to an after show. But thanks for coming, everyone. It's been a good turnout. And like I say, look at the blog. And all the sources will be linked in the description by the time this goes live again. So I'll set it to private when we're done. Until it's edited. But tomorrow when it comes up, with the source links will be in the description. I'll do a blog post about this. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to wait for the chat. There's a delay on the chat, yeah, before you can all react to me saying I'm going to end it. I've got to give you a chance to react before I do actually end it. Okay, yeah, I'll end this now and go to an after show. Thanks for coming, everyone. And I'll see you next week.